Ideas about the Parents Plus programs, and particular theme I'm taking is about co-producing with parents. When you're developing parenting programs, how you get their involvement and ensure their voice is central to the development of the program. So I want to give a little bit of that. That's a very important value for Parents Plus. So I'm just going to work through a few overheads. Let's do that here. So it's a lunchtime learning. That's the flyer that went around there. And I'm talking to you about the Parents Plus programs. Maybe I should say, pause before I get to many of you have heard of the Parents Plus programs, maybe just by show of hands, or how many of you have heard of the Parents Plus programs? Just anyone this there? Lisa has, Jennifer has as well. Okay. Have anyone trained in the Parents Plus programs here that you're interested in finding out more? Okay, good, good. So let me go into our overheads and say a little bit about them. So the first thing probably that's significant about is where the title Parents Plus comes from and what it means. And it really is what Parents Plus means, parents plus professionals working together. So it is straightforward, always in the center of Parents Plus values is collaboration with families. And how they were originally developed was Carol Fitzpatrick and myself. Carol Fitzpatrick is a psychiatrist, and we were working together in the CAM setting this 30 years ago. And we're the first people to deliver parenting programs, evidence-based parenting programs in Ireland in CAMS. We were delivering an American set of materials, and we ran them with a group of families. It all went very well. And at the end, the parents were all evaluating the programs with me, and a lot of them said to Carol and myself, they were great, but we would like an Irish program, is what they said to me. We'd like, the way, because we were showing American videos, and the American videos, the sun always shines on TV sort of thing, and they wanted ones made with Irish families. And I said to them, well, that's an interesting idea. I could do that if you help us. And they all agreed, yeah, we'll help you make them. And that original group made the first Parents Plus programs with us. So that started the whole journey of Parents Plus, responding to parents' requests and what they're looking for, what they identify as a need, and what they think is best suits their needs. And that's the story of how Parents Plus got founded. In that time, as you can see, what we have here, we've 8 programs, which I'll go to in a little bit more detail. But before we do that, maybe if I say a little bit about Parents Plus mission. Like our mission is really to improve outcomes for families through training, supporting professionals, deliver evidence-based parenting and mental health programs. So we're very keen to improve, strengthen family relationships, make lives better for families. We don't do that directly by working with families. We do that through working with yourselves as professionals to deliver evidence-based parenting and mental health programs. We always saw ourselves as working with services primarily, while incorporating the voice of families in that whole process. More on, as I like to see, I think what the way Parents Plus has evolved, what really it is we're a community of professionals who want to make a difference with families we work with. So when you become trained in Parents Plus programs, you join a community of professionals who are trained. We support a lot of our unique part of Parents Plus is post-training support. There's opportunities for people to become supervisors, trainers, and to deliver programs through different parts. And we support people as a community professionals who want to make a difference. That's how I like to see Parents Plus and its evolution. So our values, which very much are our guiding values, is partnership with parents, family, and children development. The client voice is crucial. So all our programs are developed with families, and I'll say a little bit more about how that happens and how we do that. And also collaboration with other community agencies and professionals like yourself. So we're trying to think, how do we create a program that matters and that makes a difference? Let's just take, for example, our Parents Plus Special Needs program, which is a program targeting adolescents with an intellectual disability. It was a number of community services and specialist disability agents who came to us saying that this was a much more underrepresented group of families who, whereas when children are younger, when they have additional needs, there's often quite a lot of groups and supports for them. When the children become older, particularly when they have an intellectual disability, there's very little services and supports. In fact, there's a lot of services drop off a cliff. There's many parenting programs for young children with additional needs, but there was none for older adolescents, particularly with an intellectual disability. So from that need, we said we'd work with communities to develop a program that met that need. And then we worked with 92 families in focus groups, all who've had an adolescent or a young adult with an intellectual disability, and we ran groups with them about what was needed in that program. And then when we finally developed the special needs program, we evaluated it with 277 families in a controlled study and with 25 services. So a total of 370 parents participated in the making of that program, the special needs program, and their ideas and input was very much central to that. So so that's the sort of process of how programs are developed and how they're delivered. Um, Evidence base is also a really crucial part of our work, both making sure that what we do works, that it has benefits. And the special needs program I mentioned was evaluated through a large randomized control trial, which has been rated at a level 3 through the Early Intervention Foundation as a highly robust study that's showing benefits in this difficult needs to meet of those high need families. Yet we were able to show that that was able to work and was beneficial to those families. So we do a lot of effort in conducting studies to prove the interventions work and to make sure they work. But we also, another value is we also help services who are delivering them make sure they work for you. So it's not just that we prove they work once. It's when you train in a Parents Plus program, we spend a lot of effort in supporting you to make sure you get the outcomes you want from the Parents Plus program you're delivering in your service. And we have a whole quality protocol to make sure that happens. Just to put the context of the research base, so we've over 25 studies evaluating Parents Plus, all which show consistently that Parents Plus programs are effective in reducing emotional behavior problems, parent stress, improving family communication well-being, and increasing high satisfaction. We just had recently, we were fortunate to have Alan Carr in UCD do a meta study of the Parents Plus programs. This is a study of the studies, trying to summarize the benefits for those of you interested in research. So he looked at 21 of our control studies over 20 years, over 23 years, and they're all covered all 8 of the programs there listed. It was originally published, he published a previous meta study 7 years ago, and this is an updated meta study. So if you like afterwards, we can send you links to the published study of the meta study, and we'll send that out in an email. But it covered all our programs, so 21 studies. And there's this involved 20 study involved outcomes for 100 and nearly just under 1,200 families, 1,179 families. So it was a very big meta study looking at all the outcomes for those families. All types of families were included, young people of all ages, from early childhood, young adulthood, a wide range of problems, from the traditional diagnosed problems such as opposition to defiant or conduct problems, and also very specific needs around ADHD or autism, and intellectual disability, as well as anxiety post-divorce. So all range of issues were addressed in the programs and delivered in many settings and delivered by many different professionals. And here's just a summary of the outcomes, looking at goal attainment, parenting satisfaction, parental stress, and behavior problems. So you can see, for those of you who are familiar with effect sizes, a large effect size is over about a 0.8, which means that the programs had a very significant practical and impact on families' lives. And a medium effect size, anything about at 0.5, which means they had a significant benefit in these areas. So we looked at goal attainment for parents rated very high benefits in goal attainment. What they wanted for their lives, what they wanted for their children. They were always identify a specific goal. Their increase in satisfaction, the reduction in parental stress, and the reduction in behavior problems, a much harder measure, was all reported for all the programs at those very medium to large effect sizes. We also looked at follow-up, because this is quite important. Okay, you have those benefits at the end of the group, but what are the benefits in the long term? So we had follow-up studies from 2 to 10 months, and all the studies suggesting the follow-up studies suggested that the benefits were maintained or slightly improved at follow-up, which is quite a significant finding, as you can see there. So that's a really important finding, that actually the impact of the programs last and endure, which is what we want to know. And for those of you familiar with the other international programs in the field, just to show a comparison of the meta-analysis between, say, the Incredible Years and Triple P, Alan Carr did a comparison of their meta studies and the Parents Plus meta study. So you can see that when you look at behavior problems with the harder measures, this is the relative significance. of incredible years in triple P. So these results aren't significantly different. So you can reassure that Parents Plus are as effective as incredible years or triple P in the hard measures um, of reducing behavior problems. I put that thing up there because quite often there's a sort of a belief that actually um, people, when they think they want to make thinking we need something to make a difference with the families we're working with, quite often people looked outside themselves. Like in Ireland, I look out, so we need an international program out there, American or Australian, when actually there's a sort of realizing actually you can do these things yourself. And it's actually the smaller indigenous programs that actually have the higher, as high an impact, but equally also are much more responsive and individually made and made by parents about when and represent what they want in their local communities. So I'm always very encouraging the development of local parenting programs, and there's many like Parents Plus like that, such as Mellow Parenting in Scotland or Sully Hill in the UK. So I'm a big champion of locally developed parenting programs that have a big impact, but more than that, a big impact. They involve communities working together and support program development. So let me jump in a little bit more then about talk a bit more about some of the individual programs, and I'll take a pause before we go on to those as well. So our mission is empowering professionals to improve outcomes for children and families, and we work with communities, professionals, parents, and children. Primarily, we work with professionals through training, but we also work with groups of professionals and communities. And we want to, by training professionals, we want to impact parents and children for the better. And the programs can be delivered at all levels of need. They can be individually delivered to families. They can be done by workshops. They can be run through 6 to 8 week small group groups. That's our primary delivery, is through small group. But there's also intensive delivery where people deliver group sessions to families, and also individual family sessions to really enhance outcomes for families. So you can deliver at different levels of need and different levels of intensity as well. Uh, Program delivery uh, there could be universally, preventively, or as an intervention in settings. So the programs we've studied shown that they're beneficial to all families as a universal intervention. In fact, one of the large studies we did in Dublin with the early years program showed that parents who attended the Parents Plus early years program when their child was 2 or 3 showed significantly better school readiness 18 months later when they attended school. So that was a very powerful result. They're also used preventively where people are at risk of problems in high marginalized groups, or also as interventions where there's identified difficulties or diagnoses, and so forth. So the standard delivery is over 6 to 12 weeks. Uniquely, our programs are solution focused and strengths based and collaborative. So it's about tuning into what parents are doing right and building on that, rather than criticism or showing parents what over teaching parents with new ideas. That's quite an important approach, which is sort of quite validated now, because there's historically parent training has been very focused on behavioral change or behaviorism, behavioral parent training. And some of people, particularly if you're from the autistic or ADHD community, describe as adults how behavioral approaches over strict behavioral approaches, which are correcting their behavior, are often led to trauma and challenge, where their behavior was shaped along certain ways, which was not necessary. So we have to be very careful in parenting delivery that we are tuned into the needs of the child and building on the child's strengths, as well as tuned into needs of parents and building on their strengths as well. So that's a very important principle that's been validated recently by when we listen to the experience of adults and so forth. So we also have training and support and supervision for everybody who does the programs. Let me jump down here. I want to talk a little bit about the early years program, which is one of our the program for the youngest age group. This was delivered 20 years ago. And this program is a great example of co-producing a parenting program with families. I'll take a little pause for a second as I explain a little bit about the early years program to you. How it was developed was we were working with groups of parents of these are children 1 to 6 in a CAM setting, a child and adolescent mental health setting. This was in 1999 to 2002. Can you believe that? All that long ago. And in the CAM setting, we saw children who presented with mental health problems, but also children who had presented with developmental delay. So half of the families we were working with would have had a diagnosis of autism, ADHD, or a developmental delay, and the other half would have been identified as maybe having behavioral or emotional problems that weren't specified as such, and they were attending the service for support. And when we were developing the program, we worked with groups with the parents, and we provided them all with individual video sessions. So the parents we'd be talking about ideas such as positive play and listening to children. And then we'd give them a practice. And in the practice session, they'd bring their child in to the clinic, and we'd make a video of them interacting with their child. So the video would be, say, like about playing with their child in a positive way, or if they had a particular goal for their child, they might have a goal, I want to help my child, say, concentrate if they were worried about their child's attention. We'd make a video where we'd look at how they're interacting with their child in a way that helps their child's communication and development as well. And when in the video, we'd watch the video back, and we would only look for examples, that then we'd show it back to the parent, but we only look for examples where they were doing things well, where they were successful. So you might look at a video where there's times where the child wasn't communicating well, or the parent was rushing the child. We wouldn't show that. We'd show the time where the parent slowed down and the child communicated well, and we'd show that back to the parent. So the parent would get a sense of how they could do this. It was very empowering. How I can impact my child beneficially. And we show, look, here's your child communicating. Look how you helped them do that. Or here's how you helped your child be calmer. Look how you did that. So this very affirming approach. So that was a very, very powerful thing for parents to learn. And once we showed that to parents, then we'd ask their permission. Would they be happy for us to show this video to the group? And most parents would agree. So if they we'd show to the group, here's an example of good parenting. Here's an example of effective parenting. So the parent gets celebrated in the individual session and then also in the group. And then at the end of the groups, we asked them, would they be happy for us to show those videos to other families who are raising young children? And about 30, 40, we explained to them that this would be showed through video parenting programs. About 30-40% of parents agreed. And those videos form the basis of the early years program. So it's completely all the knowledge of the parents and their interactions with their children who were the customers of the service. So they co-produced the videos with us. Does that make sense? So to give you a sense of that, I'm just going to show you a couple of the videos to show you how this works. Now, even though these videos are now over 20 years old, they're still very relevant to children don't change and parents don't change, even though sometimes trends change or how people perceive things. This was fascinating to me to look at them. So I'm just going to show you a couple of these videos just to illustrate some of these ideas and how this works. Let me just get do that. I'm hoping this will all work. So this is a little boy called David with his mom. David would have had a diagnosis of ADHD and some developmental delay. And his mother is now practicing this very responsive play with him. Okay. And she has goals in her mind about helping him communicate better and helping him attend to as well, because of her worry about his diagnosis. My goals working with families is always about helping them connect, helping them enjoy one another, and attach is my primary goal, because from that basis everything is better. So let's have a little look at what's going on in this clip. It's introduced by a professional, Grania, first, and then you can have a look. I'm going to pause it, and you can pretend you're a group of parents. Okay, this is exciting, isn't it? I'm going to ask you to give me feedback on what you see. Okay, let's have a look.
Following your child's lead means you have to watch carefully to see what your child is interested in and what he or she is about to do. Rather than jumping in with your own ideas, you have to be prepared to wait. Waiting and watching is especially important for children who have difficulties concentrating or who may have some delays in their language or other aspects of their development, which means it takes them a little longer to come up with their own ideas.
Watch in the next clip how the mother watches carefully to see what her son David is interested in. Notice how important this is to him.
So I want you to watch carefully and see what the mother does well in engaging her son. Okay.
What have we got here? Look, a train.
Train.
Put the train there, look. You taking them out of the bag for me?
Train. Oh, look at them.
Look at the cars. You're going to push them along? Very good.
Beep beep.
Beep beep.
What with it?
You take them alright?
With it.
Blocks.
What?
You building the blocks, David? You make a house?
Okay.
You building the house, David? Very good.
Me?
That's very good.
Oh,
There it is. Very good.
Okay, so we'll just take a little pause there for a second. We'll come back to you there. So what did you see there? What did the mother do there that you enjoyed, that was where she was engaging her little son there? Who'd like to come in and say what they saw? Who'd like to come in? Or like pick something. Rosie, do you want to come in there?
Hi, John.
Hi, Rosie.
How are you? Yeah, the mum was being very attentive, and she was following his lead. He was
Following his lead.
yeah,
Yeah.
and mimicking what he was saying. Repeating what he was saying.
She was repeating what he was saying. A very simple tactic, wasn't it? And she was
Yeah.
relaxed. What impact did that have on the little boy when she did those things?
He was really happy. He could see that she was engaged and that she was interested in what he was doing. So he was really enjoying his play.
Yeah, so he felt more, he continued it, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And what did you notice in terms of his language when she noticed and repeated things?
He was learning because he was listening to what she was saying, and it became a bit clearer sometimes, whenever she
Yeah.
repeated it back to him. Yeah, so it was really positive interaction.
Absolutely. And there was a little moment there where he said bricket, and she said blocks. And then he repeated later, blocks.
Yeah.
So that's actually on the ground learning for this little boy, learning a word. People wonder, how does the learning happen? That happened because the mother was completely tuned in, listened to him, repeated back what he's saying, and gave him a little nudge, a tiny nudge, and he was then able to respond to that. And when I'm going to stay with you there, Rosie, when do you think was the best moment of connection there in that clip? When do you think?
When they were both, like, he was applauding himself, but then Mummy had done the same, so she was recognizing how good of a job he'd done, and he was really
And
proud.
what were they applauding? What were they applauding? Do you remember what he did?
Well, he was building the little, was it like a little house he was building? Yeah.
There was three little pieces there, Rosie, just and one just a little bit crooked. But that was a huge achievement for that little boy at his level to complete the building of that little house, and he was excited. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And then the mother noticed it and repeated his praise, and that was forms a great connection between the two of them.
Yeah.
And what do you think the benefits of that are when she makes that connection like that?
Well, he's going to want to engage more in play, and it's giving him confidence, to want to learn more. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks very much, Rosie. Sorry for picking on you there like that.
It's okay.
It's just you gave me a lovely smile when I was asking the audience. So you can see this is a very simple example of a mum, just an ordinary mum with an ordinary goal around her son, seeing that she can do this, do all the stuff. And we just show that back to her like that, saying, here's how you helped your son. Here's all the benefits. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes we show it back to him as well. He'd be watching as well, the little boy, and he'd get the reinforcement, okay? And then she creates this knowledge that's shared with other people. We'll leave it there. I was only going to show you a little bit more of the clip. It seems to be difficult to show it there, where the mother comments, or I show it back to the mother, and you can see her really respond to noticing what her son was doing and her confidence in that. So by showing it back to the parent, it really boosts their confidence that they can do this as a parent, and they're connected to and they're tuned into their children. Because normally parents have the experience of being criticized when they go to services, are being put down, even inadvertently by professionals, when professionals say things like, have you tried this? They might say that to a parent, which you're trying to be helpful to give a suggestion, but the parent interprets that, oh, you mean I'm doing something wrong in what I'm doing, or I've never done anything right. So they feel a bit and are really hurt by professionals' advice, whereas your real skills professionals pick out what they're doing right already and to praise them for that. And then in the way they feel empowered. That's what basically empowerment means. So thanks for that. I'm glad we got to show a little bit of that. So that's the empowerment process in the Parents Plus programs and the co-production part that they're creating the knowledge with us in the early years program. And that's then delivered as a structured course with those 80 videos. We've 80 videos that are shown like that over the course of maybe 9 weeks, covering all both those very positive interactions, but also challenging interactions, dealing with behavior, meltdowns and so forth, and how parents are responding to those. Just in terms of time, I'm just going to also mention some of the other Parents Plus programs. I was concentrating primarily on the early years, but we've also got the children's program. We've got 8 programs in total, and this looks at the ages of 6 to 11 years old. The early years is just for those little kids, and the children's program more looks at the school or primary school age children, and it does continue to cover play, but also looks at self-esteem, behavior management, and problem solving. So within that video, it was very much put on center about having these co-problem solving conversations with children to sort out the challenges that you're dealing with as a family. So you're trying to empower the child to solve out their problems as well. We've also got the ADHD program as well. That's a very recent one in the last 2 years, and we just have a second edition out of it this year. And this was really developed for those of you who are working with parents of ADHD children. ADHD children used to be, the parents used to just go to a general behavioral parenting training group, and they would often attend the Parents Plus Children's program, from a Parents Plus point of view. But working with those parents, we work with ADHD Ireland and a number of services. They felt a little bit lost in those groups, that the unique needs of ADHD children weren't recognised. So working with those families, there was we developed a specific version of the children's program that is just focused on ADHD. That's neurodiversity, affirming and inclusive. So that program then has additional content for parents around the experience of parenting a child with ADHD, understanding the challenges and strengths, the role of medication, managing homework, educating challenges, talking to you about ADHD, and all these different things that are very specific to ADHD. So that's been enormously successful. The parents really appreciate being in groups of other parents of children with ADHD. Equally, many of the parents themselves are neurodivergent as well, up to 20 to 30%. There's a growing much more sensitivity to neurodiversity and how broad that is, and so forth. So that's a new program that's related if you're interested in the area of ADHD. Then the other programs we also have just go to the next one here. My slides are stuck. Oh, there you go, the lesson program. So that lesson program does what it says on the tin. This is usually for secondary school age children, 11 plus. The focus on this program is primarily on relationship building with teenagers. How do parents maintain and build relationships with teenagers during those challenging times? How do they resolve conflicts when they're might be intense conflict with their teenager over screens or phones, and then how do they co-problem solve as a family? And specifically looking at topics around that relate to adolescence, depression, anxiety, education, homework and learning, technologies. That's the new battle between families of adolescents. It's all about screens. I always tell the story that because I've been doing this work a long time ago, when I first worked with parents of adolescents 20 years ago, the big battle was, what do you think the big battle was with parents and teenagers? I'll stop for this. It's quite an interesting distraction. What do you think was the biggest number one battling issue that parents would say 20 years ago with their teenager? What do you think it was? It was all about getting teenagers to come in. They were always worried about, the parents would say, my teenager, I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's up to, and he won't come in on time. That was always the battle. They were worried about what he's doing outside. Now they'd be delighted if he bloody go out and get off the screens. They're more worried about what he's doing internally. I wish he'd go out and do something dangerous. Now he's actually doing something quite dangerous on the internet as it happens. But that's just an interesting shift in the whole dynamic. But the issue of parents being in conflict with their teenagers and wondering how to manage that well-motivated teen in a respectful way is the subject of the Parents Plus Adolescent program. That's what we support parents to do over the course of another 8-week program. And this shows you how the adolescent program can be delivered. It can be just delivered as group only. See, there's 8 groups there, but you can also do it if you're in a high intervention mode, and where parents say who need a lot of support, and families. You can also add in individual sessions as well, where you meet them before, and then you can add individual sessions in between, where you might involve the teenager as well in those sessions, where you might do a family session. They're usually very exciting, where you parent you do a co-problem solving, where you're inviting the family to problem solve together about a challenging issue, whether it's agreement with school or homework and so forth. So you can do that as a very much important part of the Parents Plus program. Just to mention also then we also have the Working Things Out program, which also works with adolescents, but the unique part of this program is it works directly with the young people themselves. We have a program directly for young people. Sometimes these two go together. The Parents Plus Adolescent program goes with a sister program, the Working Things Out program. The exciting thing about the Working Things Out program, again, in terms of co-production, this was made with 15 adolescents. They made this program with us. They told their stories about how they overcame personal problems. We recruited them. We did a survey in the CAM services I was working with about young people, about how they overcame challenges. That was the survey in a nutshell. We did it in schools as well. And a lot of young people in those surveys reported that they were dealing with quite significant challenges, and then they said how they overcame them. And then that was published in a book and a paper. But then we invited those young people, would they like to come and tell us a bit more detail and make a resource for other young people about overcoming challenges. And 15 adolescents signed up for that. And these are all interactive animated stories. They're really lovely to watch. And the young people talk about dealing with bullying, pressures, anxiety, depression, ADHD, OCD, depression, self-harm, suicide, bereavement, conflict with parents. So the base of this program is showing young people those videos of young people. They don't talk to camera, they talk over an animation about dealing with a mental health challenge. And you can use that individually with young people or in small groups. So that's the Working Things Out program, and then there's how it can be delivered as an 8-session program. It's an 8-session program as well that it also incorporates a number of CBT principles as well. The other program then is to mention the Parenting When Separated program. Again, this was again done collaboratively with a number of services. When I was working with in CAMS, I don't know if it's the same situation as in your services. I did a survey of how many people attending the CAM service were from separated or non-nuclear families, if you want, in the broadest sense. And we found that 55% of the families attending were from families who were separated, when actually mental health problems, the number is about 7%. So it's a much highly represented group. So representing that separation is enormously stressful on parents, enormously stressful on children, is incredibly isolating as well, and stigmatizing. And there was very little support for those families individually. They would just go to standard services, but would feel isolated. But isolated in that they are usually parenting alone or in high conflict. And they don't have extra support. So developing the Parenting When Separated was a very key, important thing to do to support this unique group of families who have a high need. That's one of our programs. If anyone's run this program, because the parents attend, they don't attend with their ex-partner, they attend by themselves. If there's 2 parents attending from the same family, they attend separate groups. So it's largely a personal development group where parents really coming to terms with loss and grief, but also trying to find practical ways of resolving their challenges that they're dealing with. And these are in high conflict situations often. So that's another structured program over 6 sessions, and can be done with individual sessions as well, looking about co-parenting, helping children cope conflict management, remaining calm, coping in the long term, and so forth, managing new relationships. We're currently revising that program to develop a third edition at this point. So if you're interested in that, if you're currently running the program, get in touch with us. So we're trying to make the new edition very relevant to these families. There's the special needs program, which I mentioned at the beginning, which is about supporting families raising a child with an intellectual disability, an adolescent. And it particularly looks at, there's the map of the 7 sessions, but it particularly looks at both supporting the family as a whole, supporting the individual children, and parent self-care. We look particularly at the parents' relationship with each other in their couple, because you may, in the studies, parents of adolescents with intellectual disability are sometimes 2 to 3 times more likely to separate, or are under great pressure because nobody looks after them and their parents and their relationship and the challenges. So we try to encourage a much more holistic look at the family's needs, also the siblings' needs, and so forth. So just where my time, I'm just going to wrap up now. The last program to mention is the Healthy Families program, which we is our most recent one after the ADHD program, which is a more of a preventative program looking at promoting happy lifestyles for children under 12, empowering parents, connected family relations, increased physical activity, healthy foods and diet, healthy family meal times, managing screen and technology, sleep routines, and reducing stress and positive mental health. So this program can be done as an 8-week course, but also as a series of individual workshops and modules. And you can do it like, you can take one of those modules. Let's say you want to look at screen time with your family. You could do a workshop based on this program, or you want to look at helping families get into better sleep routines. You could take that module, or you could look at physical activity or healthy diet, healthy foods and meal times and so forth. So that's one of the real strengths of this program, is this modular delivery. So that's it. I've gone to a whistle-stop tour. So I'm hoping to, if you want any more information, there's the website parentsplus.ie, and we'll send you some follow-up information.